Bartha, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 35 years ago. And at the time, I was told there was no hope for me, there was no hope for a cure, that I would be completely disabled in time. But I'm happy to share with you that I have been able to live MS-free for over 35 years now by the grace of God, and learning that I was dealing with chronic parasitic infections like a parasitic infestation. And so I'm going to share with you today the exact steps that I have used to recover from multiple sclerosis. And we have been helping hundreds of people all over the world to recover from various diseases, including multiple sclerosis, by treating the root cause. If we haven't met before, my name is Pam Bartha, and I have a lot of wonderful information on our website, livediseasefree.com, and also on YouTube and on Facebook, really helping to bring the science, the lost science of why we are so sick. Yes, we need to eat healthy and we need to exercise, we need to have a healthy lifestyle, but what is being completely overlooked is that our microbiome is really out of balance, and we have too many disease-causing microbes and not enough health-promoting microbes. And this is the biggest cause of disease. It's known in science that parasites cause disease. And that's what's happening in those of us that get these really awful symptoms, especially the neurological symptoms. So my journey began when I was just 28 years old. And I thought I was a healthy person. I had been healthy all my life. And then one day I started to lose all the vision in my left eye. I started to get a spot. The first day was like a dark black spot in my left eye. And from there, it got worse the next day. And by the third or fourth day, it was like a complete blackout. It was like I had a patch over my left eye. So with the first black spot, I went to see an eye specialist right away, and he thought, well, we'll just keep an eye on it. Possible optic neuritis, didn't know what that was. Then I went back again, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is very significant. So he immediately referred me to an MS clinic, a really good MS hospital, university clinic, the best in Canada on the West Coast. And so I went there thinking I was in really good hands. I was kind of scared. I couldn't figure out how I could lose all vision in my left eye. But when I was assessed by this neurologist, and he's a leading expert in MS, he went through all his testing and he said that I definitely had multiple sclerosis. So I also started to have a little bit of tingling in my legs and weakness in my legs, and the optic neuritis was off the charts. It was really, really strong. So he told me in his office that there was nothing that I could do to change the course of my life, that I would be completely disabled in time. And it was a disease that they didn't know what caused it. There was no cure. And he also told me that there would be people that would tell me about all kinds of snake oil cures. But as the expert, he assured me that there was nothing that I could do to change the course of my life, that this was it. I would be completely disabled in time. I left his office completely devastated, and I thought that my life was over. I was 28 years old. I had a young husband, same age as me. We had two small children, 2 years old and under, like 1 and 2 years old. And all I could think about was like, how was I going to take care of my young children, and what a burden I would be to my husband. So we left from his office, and it was through a mountain pass driving home, and it was a dark, dark day. And I still remember looking out the window. It was pouring outside, and I cried all the way home. And I just couldn't understand how you could be a healthy person one day, and then the next day you have this incurable, mysterious disease taking over your body. So from there, I was a mess. Like, my mom stepped in and she helped me to take care of my kids because I couldn't. I had terrible headaches from the optic neuritis, and like really tired, just felt wasted. And so I was like laying on the couch, and my mom was helping me and taking care of the kids. And I really cried out to God. I have a faith in God, and I ask a lot for help. And he really has answered a lot of my prayers in the past. And so I just begged him for help. And I didn't know if like what my life would turn out to be, but I had a lot of faith that somehow he could make good come out of this horrible, horrible situation. So very shortly after my diagnosis, my mother-in-law gave me a book on integrative health, and she's so cute. We have such a great bond together. But she found this one book, and this one book was written by a medical doctor. His name is Dr. William Crook, and he believed, this was like over 35 years ago, probably 40 years ago, that he was treating infections in people and helping them to recover from all kinds of chronic disease. And he really specialized in what he thought was candida. And so I read that book, and I was just blown away, because I had never heard of candida. I'd never had yeast infections. And when I read that book, it just kind of gave me hope that there was something that I could do to try and to change the course of my life. I definitely had a history of like constipation, and if I ate the wrong foods, I'd have stomach aches, things like that. So I could relate to those symptoms, but didn't have any yeast infections. And so I thought, wow, this is much more hope than what I was given by the experts. And with multiple sclerosis, we didn't have MS in our family. There might have been a distant cousin in another country, in the Netherlands, a long time ago, that had MS, but I didn't know what MS was until the doctor told me how bad it was, and it was just like unbelievable. So that book really opened my eyes to this whole new world of possibilities for me that my doctor didn't tell me about. And so I decided to take a different path at that time. I decided not to follow standard of care, which gave me no hope for a cure. I decided to treat, or to try to figure out which infections I had and to try to treat them, and hopefully have some health improvement or slow down the MS. I didn't know that I could totally recover from it, but it was a ray of hope for me. Long story short, that started my journey, and then from there I read books. We had this Alive magazine in local health food stores, and every month, I didn't have the internet, I'd go down and grab the magazine, and they would do a book review. And in that book review, sometimes there'd be other doctors talking about these chronic infections in the body. So I found actually 4 different books written by different medical doctors, and they were all saying the same thing, is that disease is caused by infections in the body, chronic infections. And back then, it was a lot of talk about candida. They didn't know about all the other parasites we were dealing with. But the nice thing is that with certain treatments, there's a little bit of overlap and benefit. So some herbs will treat different, like fungi, but they can also be helpful for treating bacteria and other smaller parasites. So long story short, I have been researching and trying different safe things, and the more I focused on treating these infections and restoring balance to the microbes in my body, I was able to not have another MS attack. Unfortunately, it was such a bad case of optic neuritis that I did have permanent damage to my left eye, but I have not had another MS attack in over 35 years. It's so incredibly wonderful. I've been able to raise my family, raise my children, had another child, and that's something they don't advise when you have multiple sclerosis. I've been able to be a partner with my husband. I went back to school. I got a science degree, and I wanted to help others to recover, but I really felt like going through med school with a family, it just wasn't what I was supposed to do. And I'm glad, because I don't want to be confined in an office. I really enjoy teaching, educating, coaching people, and so I was really equipped to do that. So I would teach in our local school districts during the day, and I would coach at night. And I did that for a few years. And then I left my teaching profession and went into full-time coaching, and now our Live Disease Free plan and Live Disease Free, our brand, it's coming up to 10 years next year, which is exciting. So we've been serving students all over the world for 9 years, 9.5 years now. And we have many students that have recovered from MS and other chronic diseases. You can go onto our YouTube. I'll talk more about them in a little bit, but you can go onto our YouTube channel, Live Disease Free, and you can listen to their stories. Make sure to take some Kleenexes, because you'll have happy, happy tears. But it has been such a wild ride. Like for me, I have 8 grandchildren now. We just had a little second grandson just about a month ago or so, maybe 6 weeks ago. And so I am just, and they're all like 10 years old and younger, so it's really fun. I got back into a passion of mine, horses, which I never thought I'd be able to do again, because I had a horse before I was like, when I was in my early 20s, and then had children and working and just didn't have time for it. And then I got multiple sclerosis. So I thought, oh, that's never going to happen again. So I have now, I'm just living the absolute best life and helping others to recover, helping them so that they can live out their passions and enjoy their families and traveling and working and just living their life. So today I'm going to share with you the steps that I took to recover. And this is like 10 years in the making. So we've been fine-tuning and tweaking, and just, we know what works, we know what doesn't work, because we've worked with literally, like in a more intensive way, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. It's approaching like a couple of thousand people at least by now. And then many other thousands that find my work, that start implementing. There's so many people that reach out to us and they just start changing their diet and they start implementing and they feel like a different person. But when they actually really treat the parasites, this is where the magic really happens. So it's super exciting. And I'm so excited to share this with you. I always share everything that I can. Some things I can't share on these platforms because we will be censored. So, and I also want to be responsible. I'm not one of those kind of people that'll say, Tiz, take this parasite drug and everybody's going to be cured, because it's not that simple. If it was, I would write a book and we would cure the world, but it's not that simple. But if you are in that place where like you haven't had hope until hearing me talk about this, you've never even considered parasites or infections, this video is going to be mind-blowing for you, because it's going to be like, this makes so much sense. Oh my gosh, like I've done all these other things and I've tried stem cells and supplements and all of these different, functional medicine and treating Lyme disease and treating candida, and I'm still sick, and I've been trying to exercise. But have you treated parasites? Because parasites are what's causing your symptoms, and this is backed by a lot of science. It's not my opinion, it is science. So what I did is I actually created a PDF document for you that you can have for your own reference. You can share it with practitioners. I really encourage you to share it with practitioners, because it helps them, because they don't know anything about this either. It's ridiculous. All of this science is on the web, but somehow they're not getting access to it. They don't even know it's there. And so most people that I talk to that are saying, I'm not living my life, I'm just housebound, I'm not able to work, I'm not able to care for my family, they've never ever heard that parasites are the cause of what they're dealing with. So that, you can find that PDF, it's on our website. But what you should do if you want it is just, maybe the simplest thing to do is just to go to our website, livediseasefree.com. There's a little chat box in there, and then just type in there, just type in the word parasite, and we will send you the PDF. It has all the links to all the research I'm talking about. I've done a ton of blog posts, so you can go onto our website, livediseasefree.com, and you can look at the blog posts, and it's like a library, and you're just going to have so much fun in there. Or you can just take that one PDF, and it's a summary of all the different types of parasites that are linked to multiple sclerosis, all the science behind them, and that's kind of like an overview of it, and then you can go a deep dive if you want to in the topic. So I have spent thousands of hours, and I still continue to spend hours and hours researching for you, but you have to be able to find this information, and I would encourage you to share it with others so that we can bring change. We want to bring change. So the sad reality is that it's been decades of research that has been lost. Like when you look at the malaria multiple sclerosis link, or malaria babesia, it's some type of protozoa that's similar to that. Like those studies were done in the late 1800s, early 1900s, at least 75 studies. They were actually treating MS patients and other Americans with malaria drugs back then. And they were having huge improvements in MS patients. And they were like, why are malaria drugs helping MS patients? I wonder why. So there's this huge link with malaria and multiple sclerosis, but also Dr. Alan McDonald is a pathologist, and he's found roundworms in the spinal fluid of every MS subject he's tested. These little roundworms were mating, they were clustered, they produced a ton of waste, making the spinal fluid look chalky. And we know that in animals, domestic animals, when they have these worms in their central nervous system, they have all the symptoms of multiple sclerosis, all of the neurological symptoms. And then also he found developing tapeworms and tapeworm larvae in the central nervous system of MS. So these were actual people that had MS, they died, their central nerve, their brain and spinal fluid were like in frozen brain banks for research, and he just looked at it. He didn't spend millions and millions of dollars doing this research. He just simply, he knows how to look for, he's a pathologist, he knows how to look for infections, for different types of parasites, and he found them abundantly in the central nervous system of MS. So we're talking about worms, roundworms, we're talking about flatworms, also Borrelia. He found Borrelia in the central nervous system of MS. He found Borrelia, which is the bacteria, the spirochete bacteria that causes Lyme disease. He found them inside the worms, those little tiny roundworms, tons of, they lit up like a Christmas tree, all green, full of the DNA of Borrelia. So these little worms, they come into the central nervous system and they are infecting us with Borrelia in our central nervous system. So yes, we can get it from ticks and from other biting insects like mosquitoes, but these small worms, we know very little about parasites, let's put it that way. So he also found Borrelia, the spirochete, the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, in the myelin sheath of nerve cells in Alzheimer's patients. So if there is Borrelia in the central nervous system of MS, and we know that it likes to hide out in the myelin and other parts of the central nervous system, then it could be affecting either close to the myelin or in the myelin of MS. So all of this I put together on one page for you. There's hyperlinks for all of this research. There are many, many studies linking MS to Borrelia, which is Lyme disease, like dating back to 1911. Why are doctors not shown this information? Why are we not researching this? Why are we not proving it wrong? Is there another agenda? Is there money involved? Are there finances involved? Has our healthcare system been hijacked? I'm asking questions because I really don't understand. This is really important research that we should be proving or disproving Dr. Alan McDonald's work. Well, with all of this research, because this was a lot more than I learned when I first was diagnosed with MS, and I read those books by those doctors that were talking more about Candida. So then we started to go deeper in how do we treat these various parasites and what kind of symptoms do they cause? And so we have developed a plan that, and I'm going to go through the steps in that plan, that help us to recover from these parasites, and that helps us to recover from MS and other neurological diseases and other autoimmune diseases. So what we have discovered with the students we work with, they might have MS, they might have Parkinson's, they have ALS, PLS, diabetes, cancer, and some of them don't have a diagnosis, but they're on their way to a diagnosis. They are infested with large worms, and this is in their intestines. And so we can't see the small ones are passing or the other protozoa, bacteria, or fungi, but we definitely see the large ones. And it's hundreds. For the typical person, it's hundreds, even if they're not diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. We know that these worms can produce 25,000 to 200,000 eggs in one day. It's insane. And if you think about your digestive tract, it's about the size of a double tennis court. The surface area is about the size of a double tennis court. So you can fit a lot of parasites on a double tennis court. So when we're talking about a parasitic infestation, when we're sick, when we're dealing with autoimmune disease, multiple sclerosis, heart disease, cancer, we're dealing with different types of parasites. So there's worms, there's protozoa, there's fungi, there's bacteria. And what I like to share is kind of like you have a weedy lawn. When you have a weedy lawn, you don't just have dandelions. Like if you didn't take care of your lawn and areas, they die out, you get all kinds of weeds that move in. And that's the same thing in our body, especially our digestive tract. And so these parasites are pests. Just like weeds would be pests in your garden, these parasites are pests in your body. And that's why there will never be a single pill cure for multiple sclerosis, because one pill will not treat roundworms, flatworms, bacteria, and protozoa and fungi. We need different treatments, and we need to cycle through them to recover. And again, when you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of worms that can lay 200,000 eggs in a day, it takes strategy. And I'm going to share with you the strategy that we use to recover. So if you want to look more into the science behind it, then you'll go to livediseasefree.com. In the little chat box, type in parasite, and we will send you that link, all right? Or it's a link. It'll be easier to find that way. And it's just, MS is an infectious disease, and you can download the PDF, you can share it with your doctor, share it with groups, get people talking about it. But you can go deeper into the science, so you'll be blown away. You'll be like, what? No wonder I feel so terrible. All right, so these infections they start in the gut, they move into our blood, they move into our tissue, they move into the central nervous system, and those lesions are literally pockets of inflammation, which are pockets of infection. So I've done another talk, which is on that same PDF, about MS is an infectious disease, and there is science that shows that many different types of parasites cause lesions. So this is not my opinion. This is scientifically validated that different various types of parasites are known to cause lesions in the central nervous system. And parasites cause disruptions that we see in multiple sclerosis. So they're finding parasites in multiple sclerosis, and we also have gut issues. There's so much behind this. That there's gut issues up to 5 years or more before MS, like constipation, alternating constipation and diarrhea. Again, dysbiosis in the gut, out of balance in the gut. That's where it all starts with. So there is a mountain of science that MS is an infectious disease, and you guys are the only ones that can help me bring the truth out, because there's a lot of resistance to bringing this truth out, because they kind of like these, $100,000 per year or more immunosuppressive drugs that we're using, and plus the whole system of, the testing and the visits. It's like, it's not sustainable for any country. So this, again, is all validated by lots of science. And these parasites, we've had them for years. And we treat them in our pets, but we don't treat them in humans. They are in every country. You don't have to travel to get a parasite. They're just part of life. You can get them through. They could be sitting on food that you have from your garden, or they can come in from other countries. But when they get in your body, they actually start by eating some of your food. They love it when your body digests food for them. They steal your nutrients. As they become more and more populated, then the poisons that they produce can really start to cause problems for your immune system. They also cause a lot of immune suppression so that they can keep living inside of us. So they have ways to make themselves blind to our immune system, and they also cause directly immune suppression in various ways. There's at least 17 different ways that they can cause immune dysfunction and inflammation in the body. This is known in science also. So they release toxins, they rob nutrients from us, they can make us deficient, and that can cause disease also. And they cause a lot of inflammation by themselves, and also the toxins they produce. And remember, inflammation is the war zone. It is where our immune system is fighting an enemy. And the enemy usually is some type of microbe, a pathogenic parasite. So the more active the parasites are, the more populated they are in our body, the more inflammation we have. And there gets to be this place where our immune system just can't do it anymore. And then we end up with autoimmune diseases, and chronic diseases, whatever you want to call them. But it's just a more severe case of a parasitic infestation. So unfortunately, there's a big problem because our standard of care medical model doesn't recognize this. We're stuck in this paradigm of, oh, your immune system is attacking your body tissue for no reason. We don't know why it is. We just have to shut down. We have to suppress your soldiers. But you need those soldiers to protect you from infection. So that is not a very safe strategy. And then there are other people that have kind of like moved away from standard of care, and they're working with integrative practitioners. And some people that I've interviewed, talked to, they have invested $100,000 to $300,000 on their health, doing things like tons of supplements, a lot of testing, and then doing things like stem cell. Back in the day, there was CCSVI, and going back year after year after year with stem cell treatments and just not getting better. And they've never treated the parasites. That's the problem. They've never treated the parasites. And then others would go to, let's say, a Lyme litter doctor, somebody who's got experience in treating Lyme, and they're focused with the herbs, or maybe they're focused on using the Lyme antibiotics, and they're being treated and treated and treated. I was speaking to one gentleman today, and he was treated for Lyme. Well, they were trying to treat him for Lyme, but they were just like trying to get him, giving him these detox supplements, and he was just herxing, having a terrible reaction to them. And he's just so sensitive. And what we have seen is if you just focus on Borrelia, like these smaller parasites, and you don't treat the large ones, you're never going to get well. So it's really important to treat from big to small as we recover. So many people have invested years and years and in time and money into all kinds of integrative things. And the sad reality is that some of these clinics can charge so much money, like $30,000 plus $50,000 a year, and people are still sick, and even upwards of that. And then I just start to think, like, are we any better than the medical model when we're doing that? Because we find in what we do that you don't need to spend that kind of money, and you can recover, but you have to become laser focused on what the problem is. So there's a much better proven plan that has helped many people. Some of them are going on 9 years of being MS free, and other diseases also. And this is literally called the Live Disease Free Plan. And I'm going to share with you the steps we take to recover. Number one, it's vital that you support the body first. All right, prepare the body before you start treating. If you're really sick and you start treating, you will just be flatlined on the couch and you'll feel miserable, because the parasites don't like it when you're killing them off. And when you're really sick with chronic disease, then you can have this, you're weakened, and then the parasites are going to produce more toxins, and we call it angry worm syndrome. And then you feel much, much worse. And then you like, I can't handle this, I've got to stop. So we follow the Live Disease Free diet. The parasites love carbohydrates and simple sugar. So as you decrease their favorite source of energy, you will notice inflammation going down. You'll notice you'll start feeling a lot better. We make sure we're having daily bowel movements, we're sleeping well, using supplements to support us in those areas. We clean up certain things in the environment, especially mold and wireless radiation, reducing that tremendously, dealing with mold. So there's a few things we're checking off. We're looking at our blood work. We're making sure that our blood work looks good, just the basic blood work, like a comprehensive panel, looking at iron and your vitamin D and your white blood count, your liver and kidney function, just the things your doctor normally looks at, but you're looking at it yourself, and you're learning how to read your blood work, and you're learning to see, like, oh, this is getting close to being out of the normal range. And how does this link up with parasites? And you want to definitely know how to read your own blood work, because things get missed. And if they get missed, then you're not going to recover as well. So the prep phase of the program is super important. People are feeling a lot better before they start treating. A few people that maybe have been newly diagnosed, they haven't been sick for a long time, or maybe they don't have a diagnosis, they can almost feel symptom-free just in the prep phase. That's how powerful it is. So it's not like you have to wait till you get this magic parasite drug, because they're not magical. It really, it's a combination of things. So number one is prepare the body. Number two is to treat the parasites. And so this is where we don't have good stool tests. So the best we have is to use these 6 criteria. I look at the person's health history, our student's health history, the health history of their parents. We also look at their symptoms. We also look at their diagnoses. We also look at their energy test results and the types of parasites that they're passing. What types of worms? Are they long spaghetti-like noodles? Those would be roundworms. Are they flat, ribbon-shaped and segmented? Those will be tapeworms. Are they short and wider and like translucent on one end? Those would be flukes. And so that we take all of this information together and we build a treatment plan. And so when our students are treating, they're bringing in the parasite drugs that they test well for. They're using oxygen type therapies also, because we've got to use a multi-faceted approach to this, because the parasite drugs are not a magic cure. There's tons of people that are, really advocating, everybody take ivermectin and fenbendazole. It's like, no, don't do it, because you probably don't need them. You're not going to take the right dosages, and it's not going to help you, right? Why take a drug, which is, they all are somewhat toxic to our body. Why take that if it's not going to help you? Or if you're going to make the parasites resistant, and maybe in the future you might need that drug and then you can't use it. So very important to use the ones that test well for you through energy testing, to use them at effective doses, to cycle through, right, as per the life cycles of the parasites, and using combinations where we are treating with the parasite drugs and we are cycling through treating the large worms and protozoa, then we're treating fungus, then we're taking a break. It's always good to take breaks from herbs and from parasite drugs for about a week, and then going back and cycling through. So we're using, again, parasite drugs, herbs, and oxygen type therapies, and a combination. Our students usually test well for 3 to 5 parasite drugs at one time. So it's not like one parasite drug for roundworms will get rid of them all. It won't. It really, really won't. Like, our students are going through multiple cycles and they're still passing worms, and they're like, I don't understand where these worms are coming from. And they're using combinations, like for flukes, maybe there's 4 different parasite drugs they're using, plus the oxygen therapies, plus they're using herbs. They might be treating the Lyme infections also at certain times of the cycle. So this is where I help you. The plan has to be based on you, and that's if you want to recover, right? If you're just like, I'm just going to wing it, I'm just going to try for a few years, most people don't figure it out. It's not that easy. This is why my goal in this next phase of our company is to really bring this to the practitioners, to really share what we've learned, so that we have many, many more practitioners that are implementing these, that know about these steps and can implement it and can perfect it even better. So even like the Lyme, different types of herbs, like if you don't use the right amount, then you're not going to see symptom improvements. If you don't make them liposomal, then you won't have the same benefit. And then you'll think, well, this doesn't work for me. It must not be Lyme. And maybe you do have Borrelia, Babesia, Bartonella, Ehrlichia, and some of those other infections, which is really common in neurological diseases, especially multiple sclerosis. So it's complex. It's not hard. You just have to have this basis of information. So as we go through multiple cycles and we're treating them, then we get to the place where we're symptom-free, and we definitely want to make sure that we're treating long enough so that we actually have recovered, right? And that we're going maybe a couple of months past that time, so that we can make sure that we don't get a bunch of eggs that hatch and we don't go back into another relapse. So once we feel well, it's all about making sure that we manage this new health that we have. Our students feel better than they have felt in many, many years, which is wild, because they've been living with these parasites, and they've come to a crisis place where they were diagnosed and then lived with chronic disease, but they had these parasites for years before their diagnosis. So this is about learning how to manage the microbes in your body and periodically knocking them back, just like we do with our dogs, our cats. Like, I have horses and we deworm them like 3 times a year at least. Same with our dogs. And then we don't deworm ourselves. So like, I was just speaking to another person today, and they have sheep, and I could hear chickens in the background, and they were talking about all the worms that their sheep get. And I'm like, but you guys never treated yourself, right? Same thing with veterinarians. They deal with sick animals all the time, and they don't treat themselves. They treat all the animals. It's insane. It's so common sense and so insane. But the problem is that if you don't treat early before you have chronic disease, then you're dealing with a parasitic infestation. You've had worms for years, then you start to get these secondary bacterial and protozoal infections, and fungus loves that environment. So then we have candida. We might live in a moldy home, and then we have different types of mold issues too. So that's what we're dealing with. This is how we're recovering. And then once you get well, yes, you have to eat right, you have to exercise, you have to live a healthy lifestyle, nurturing your soul, balancing your life. But if you do not treat your microbiome and restore balance and build back the good, this is the missing link of the wellness puzzle. And this is what makes Live Disease Free so unique. I work with people all over the world, and I am not aware of any program like this. It blows my mind. I hope this changes, but I am not aware of any program like this. Sure, they will treat parasites with these like expensive blends of parasite herbs, but people are still sick. We have found at this time that the herbs are not strong enough to treat especially the larger worms, and they are full of smaller parasites, and they will keep reinfecting you. So there is a real benefit to bringing in the parasite drugs, as long as you're getting the proper support from practitioners and using the right treatments, right? This is nothing you can do by yourself. You should not be doing this by yourself. And we help you to make sure to build a game plan, get the support that you need to use the treatments that are effective. And that's what makes us different. And that is why our students are completely recovering, right? And that's why I have been able to live 35 years. I have passed worms that are over 2 feet long, like shocking. I have passed a lot of intestinal flukes. That's been a big thing for me. And they're extremely pro-inflammatory. I grew up on a farm. I had a ton of antibiotics as a kid, right? And so I've had gut issues all my life. And it wasn't until, I started treating and I was able to make the MS go into remission. But then I started treating more aggressively the bigger worms because we learned how. And it makes you feel so much younger when you treat these parasites. Like your cognitive function is so much more sharp. Your energy, like you'll go back 20 years in your life. Like it's just absolutely shocking. So the exciting thing is when you learn this skill, you can recover from chronic disease. And then I just turned 64 this year. So then I can really work at making sure that I stay out of the care homes, that I am able to drive and be independent and have independent living and be active in my family's life for many, many, many years. I'm traveling with my partner and just my husband over 40 years, which is awesome. So, and I haven't been a burden on him. Maybe in some ways I am because I nag him to, we're 64, you got to start treating yourself. And he has treated a little bit, but he's not sick either. So luckily he's doing it early and not to the place where where I was at, hitting a brick wall at the age of 28 years old. So the cool thing is that, this is a proven plan. Like it's not up for debate if this is going to work for you or not. It will work for you if you will follow the plan. If you will work the plan will work for you. But you have to follow it. There's many people that have succeeded. You can hear their stories, hear their amazing successes on our website, but also on Live Disease Free YouTube channel. I think it's more there than on Facebook. So Lisa May is one. Lisa May is a nurse, and she has her master's in public health. She was diagnosed with MS, and when she found me, she was really struggling to even work anymore. And so she followed the plan. In the prep phase, she was almost symptom-free, just by getting ready to treat. And then she treated, and she recovered from multiple sclerosis, and it's getting to be at least 8+ years by now. She was also infertile, so this relates to infertility also. She couldn't get pregnant, but by treating the parasites well enough, she actually got her fertility back, and she has 3 beautiful little girls right now. She opened up a wellness clinic in between her second and third child, and then she went back to, mat leave. But this is what people do. Like, we're getting our health back. We start wellness clinics, and I'm going to share with you other students that have other amazing adventures after their success. So there's also Melissa. And Melissa, she was so sick with MS that she had such a brutal attack, she had to relearn how to walk. And she hadn't worked for 10 years. In the program, when she finished the program, she was able to go back to work for the first time in 10 years. She was doing kickboxing classes. Like, she was that fit. And now, 10 years later, 9-10 years later, she is fit. She is on I've got her updated, it was a couple of years ago, updated video, and she has written a book. She started a health food company, and she looks incredibly fit. So exciting. And then Sarah is another one, and Sarah had 2 young children, little boys, not young boys, elementary age boys when she started. And she was really scared that she wasn't going to be able to take care of her family with having multiple sclerosis, because a lot of times we don't know how we're going to feel. We don't know when the next attack is coming. And she recovered from MS. When she finished, she rode on this MS bike tour 180 kilometers in Alberta in the spring, and it was like really cold rain, and she did the whole 180 kilometers. And then she went on and she started running some 5K races. And then now she's like I'm sure she's like a fitness coach. I see her on Facebook, and it's so cool to see her. She wrote a book also. And so this is what happens when we get our health and our life back. We start doing things we never thought we could do. And then Mirella is another one, and she also recovered from multiple sclerosis. She's beautiful. She's in Australia. She started her own podcast. I don't think she wrote a book yet, but she is a health coach, and she has a podcast, and she's beautiful, and I'm just so thrilled for her. And this is not just for multiple sclerosis either. So we have another student who's just in the program right now, and she's so blown away because she has spent the last 10 years in bed, and the doctors put her on psychiatric drugs, and she has not been able to live her life for 10 years. And just by the prep phase, she has been able to come out of bed. She sent me a picture of herself with her husband on, I think it was a family boat that they have, maybe one of her sons or something, and she's gardening. She's like, I forgot what a green thumb I have. She can focus, she can read again. So amazing. And she's just treating. And before she found me, she was trying to treat a little bit. She was, and this is where people just can't figure it out. So amazing. Another student, and I have her on video. Her name is Tracy. She's a retired dentist in the United States. And she was not multiple sclerosis, but she had multiple diseases. She was bedridden. Her husband had to do everything. She had braces for her hands with like arthritis. She was using a walker. And because she's a healthcare professional and she really understood the parasites, she went hard at it. And she shared that she passed a ton of worms, and her husband shared the jar of worms with other colleagues. They're both dentists, and they're like blown away. But she literally came out of bed and she could take care of her family. She was able to, like her and her husband, she could babysit grandchildren that she's never been able to babysit before. Got rid of the walker, exercising, traveling. She was able to move. She could never pack up her place before to move. And she's living her life. And she was actually looking into going into doing like a master's or a PhD in parasite, because she's like blown away. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of this information, even in dentistry. They're starting to understand that it's not just bacteria, but also worms that are involved, and probably protozoa for sure too, and fungi. So if you want to hear their stories from their voices, Live Disease Free on YouTube or Live Disease Free on our website.com. There's a playlist on YouTube, and you will be just like, these people are so excited. All right, so to be really honest, most people do not figure this out on their own. It's really complicated if you don't know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, it's a few simple steps. I shared the steps with you, right? Get ready to treat. Make sure that you build a treatment plan based on what types of infections you're dealing with, and then treat long enough and well enough, making adjustments, making sure that you are improving. Don't use the same things if you're not improving. If you're not noticing symptom improvements in 4 or 5 days, you're just taking something for no reason, and you shouldn't, because they're all toxic. And then once you're treating and you've recovered, then to treat periodically and to protect your health, right? And that is by treating periodically, just like we do with our pets, but then also building back the good microbes. And then in this plan, we also take a really big holistic approach. So we're dealing with different toxins in the environment that are invisible to us, and we didn't know, like we didn't have them 50 years ago, and most of us don't even know like different metals and other toxins in the environment. I can't talk about the names of why we're getting these toxins on this platform, because that will get censored. So toxins, heavy metal detox is important, liver, gallbladder, flush, building a healthy lifestyle. Our mindset is really important too. Like some of us have been through a lot of trauma. And so all of these things together, like the things we know, but also this part that makes the Live Disease-Free plan so unique, is what really brings in this miraculous transformation. And you know, now we're living in a time where we have AI, right? And we can type in and ask AI anything, but please be careful because AI makes a lot of mistakes. I do use AI in my work, but I use it very strategically. I know what I'm looking for, and I always check references. So like if they give you references, check them. They should give you peer-reviewed science, and check the journals, like check the peer-reviewed science, because very often it's completely inaccurate. And one other thing I wanted to mention too, that it's really huge, is that AI is only as good as the data that it gets. So if our standard of care is the only data that it has, then it's going to recommend, right, the disease-modifying immunosuppressive drugs. It's going to say diet doesn't really make a difference. It's going to say there is no cure, there is no... And so this is where it's really important that you work with somebody who has, number one, had the success that you want to have. Number two is following a proven plan, right, that have helped many others to, and that it makes sense, and that you're getting results, right? All of those things are really important. Otherwise, you're just going to spend more money and you're still going to be in the same place. And life is so short. I can't believe I'm 64 this year. I really can't. I'm on my way to 70. Like, I don't even know how that happens. But all I know is life gets faster and faster the older I get, probably because I'm so passionate about so many things. So I'm going to go to your questions. Hello. So hi, Anna. Can we do this plan without taking medication? You can. You will have a lot of symptom improvements, but if you have large worms, they're not all going to come out, all right? Like you might have some of the worms coming out, but you may not have all of them. These parasite drugs are really old. They've been around for decades. They're very safe. They're tolerated better than a lot of the herbs are. And a combination of them are really necessary. Like I have students that have been, like one student that was like so sensitive to everything, and she's like, I feel so much better on the parasite drugs because it actually makes the parasites more quiet, and she's removing them. And so it's really weird that you would think like a medication, you wouldn't want to be on it because they're drugs, but there is a time and a place for medications. They can be very helpful. Number one, our standard of care is excellent as crisis intervention, but also certain things like the parasite drugs are helpful. They're not a magic cure on their own, but you won't have the same level of recovery. And I've heard that from very few doctors, but from doctors too. Maybe in time we will find something different, but we're using combinations of herbs, we're using higher amounts, liposomal, and it's just not enough. It has to be a combination. Hi, Jen. Oh, my sound is very low? Well, that's really, my sound looks like it's up as high as I can make it. Let me just see here. Okay, hopefully, maybe try your sound on your computer. Hi, Christy. Yes, livediseasefree.com, parasite. So if you want to find that PDF, this is like lots and like thousands of hours of research, then just go to livediseasefree.com. There is a little chat that'll say, do you have any questions? Go in there and just type in parasite, and we will send you that PDF. Good, so it must be just one person's audio. So if we join your program, do you find us a natural practitioner because there are no doctors that live in this area that will treat MS for parasites? Yes, I work with students in many countries. You can imagine India, how hard that would be. And we've had Egypt, and we've had the European countries, and we've had the Caribbean, and Australia, New Zealand, Canada. Every country is different. It doesn't matter. We're able to help all the students. So this is something, again, it's by the grace of God we're doing this, that we're able to, like, we have a plan to help all people everywhere. So Lorraine, do you recommend LDN? So that's low dose naltrexone. You know, if your doctor has prescribed it and you're taking it and you're finding it to be helpful, you can continue to take it. It is just helping, or apparently trying to help manage the inflammation. But again, it's not going to be, it's like a symptom management tool, right? It's one of the symptom management tools that have less adverse effects, but it's not going to give you the quality of life that you want. It's not going to treat the parasites. It's not going to get rid of the inflammation. It might help to manage some symptoms. And I say might because a lot of people take it and they really don't notice a big difference. So, but if you are finding it slightly helpful, you can totally stay on that. But then as soon as you're, building your treatment plan and you're recovering, you're not going to want to be on it because you won't need it anymore. So, beloved, you have been on the keto diet for 3 months. How long does it take to prepare yourself for treatment? So it's 3 to 6 weeks. It's totally up to the person. Everybody's different. Like it's literally, like if you've been on the keto diet, you're just going to be making some slight adjustments to your diet. Just for example, we don't have dairy products except for butter. So things like that. And just making sure that your carbs are in the target zone. We're not worried about ketosis. We're just making sure we know which types of foods will feed the parasites. And when you get down to the 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day, especially the 30 total grams of carbs, that's where people notice the biggest improvement in inflammation. So literally the diet, making sure you're having daily bowel movements and making sure you're sleeping well, then you can start treating. And that's where you're using herbs and you're just lining up with getting energy tested and getting the right parasite treatments in place. And we just make sure we do things systematically. We're not going to do too much treatment at one time. We want to make sure that you're functioning in life, that you're able to continue to work or just function at the level that you are. But you should be feeling a lot better before you start treating. So Lorraine, so you have students that couldn't walk and now they can walk. Yes, amazing. So Terry Kiley is one. Her video is on our YouTube. I'm sure it's there, or it's on our website. We've got a bunch on our website too. Like if you just go to the homepage, you'll see that there are a bunch of, you can click on the successes and you can hear their voices there. So Terry Kiley was in a scooter for 8 years. And when she finished the program, 3 to 4 months in, she literally was using crutches because when you don't walk for a long time, your leg muscles become like smaller and not strong. And so she would have to get on her bike and exercise and use crutches to walk. But she was literally walking after the program, like with crutches. And she was doing squats in the doorway and then there's follow up with her there. So another one, Maria, she came out of a wheelchair. Quite a few have. I can never promise that, but all I can share with you is that I am so excited because we're finding more. I've shared plasmalogens, which could be another thing that really helps with remyelination. I did a talk about that. So we're just fine-tuning our approach and we're going to help people recover more and more quickly from not just MS, but other types of chronic diseases. And it's really exciting. So one lady, like she was legally blind for 20 years, and just by taking this plasmalogen, you can find that on our website under blog posts. And we do actually have a coupon code. It's called Live Disease Free, where you can get 25% off if you want to try it, but you got to know how to try it or what to do. And I teach my students all of this. So this fatty type nutrient, it makes up, it's hugely in the brain. It's like up to 70% of plasmalogens are in the brain, also in the heart in different areas, but it is very important for building myelin. And so if somebody's had MS or another pro-inflammatory disease in the central nervous system, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, PLS, and the plasmalogen is really susceptible to this oxidative stress, to the inflammation that's going on. And if you're deficient in it, then the nerves can't build themselves properly. So this was literally just in the last 3 weeks. Again, like we're doing things that are just like unbelievably forward thinking. So just keep that in mind because there's so much. So our program is just getting better and better all the time. It's excellent. It's like we have people that have recovered, but we're just learning better ways to, help to support nutritional deficiencies like the plasmalogens, which I didn't even know about. I did a whole year in biochemistry, never heard of the word plasmalogen before. And I'm just like, wow. So if you're deficient in them, then yes, putting that back in your diet is going to help your nerves to work better. But you have to treat the parasites too. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting more inflammation. And you're like, if you look at people that just take plasmalogens by themselves, they have pretty significant improvements, but they're not cured of MS, right? They're not recovering from MS or other chronic diseases. So when you can marry the two together, it's a huge winning combination. And then things like glyconutrients, you'll learn, those are nutrients for cellular communication. So all of these things we kind of fine tweak, and we really help people. It's not that you need a ton of supplements, but it's just a couple of core ones that really help to fix what these parasites are damaging. So yes, I suspect that we're going to help people to be walking a lot quicker with all of these different things as we are treating more and more effectively. Thank you, Lorraine, for all the love. Christy, you're very welcome, very inspiring. It is absolutely wild. Listen to their success stories on Live Disease Free YouTube channel or on our website. Take some Kleenexes and you will absolutely be thrilled. Is it okay to drink herbal teas if they don't have caffeine or sugar? As long as they're not like fruity teas that are sweet or licorice. Anything that tastes sweet on your tongue, don't have it in the recovery phase. Oh, thank you so much, Lorraine. I appreciate that. She said I look young for my age, maybe, hopefully. So Rob, what prescription do you recommend you see works the best to help remove them? Well, this is the thing, is it's not a cookie cutter plan. If it was, I promise you I'd write a book and we would cure the world. So like some people have flatworms, and this is where, like if we're using the oxygen, I have videos, like a blog post on using oxygen therapy and treating parasites, so then you can actually pass parasites and see what you're passing, get energy tested. It really depends what types of parasites you have. Not everybody has the malaria, babesia, protozoa, and if you do, they're a completely different treatment plan. And not everybody has Borrelia or Bartonella or Babesia, and they're all brutal if they're in higher amounts in your body. Not everybody has roundworms or tapeworms or flukes. So this is where it is an individualized plan. And if you have roundworms, you're not just going to take one roundworm medication. It's not going to get rid of all of them. They're not that effective. They're not. If you just take like fenbendazole, yes, they're effective for a certain cancer. There was a gentleman who had a terminal cancer and it saved his life. So yes, like it could be helpful, and I think that's like a protozoa type cancer that he has. But for the rest, like you can try it, but you'll see that you're still dealing with disease. So Lorraine, thank you. You're trying to convince your daughter who has MS to join, but she is scared. Well, just get her to do, I'm not sure what she's scared about. I would be more scared about the multiple sclerosis because it will rob her life. It's really important, and I ask people this all the time when I talk to them, what are your long-term concerns? If you don't recover from MS, where do you see that your life is going to go? And technically, it's into a care home. My father just passed away this past year, and it was really hard to see him in the care home, and I am very grateful to the people there. They did a really great job. We kept him home as long as we could, but if you can stay out of it, there's people that have MS, like one lady I know, like in her 20s in a care home. How sad is that? And it's completely preventable. It's completely reversible if you treat the cause. So she doesn't have to be scared. It's actually a very simple plan, and she's just going to feel better and better, and she's going to get her life back. So just get her to just, listen to some of the successes of the people that have, like Amy is another one. She's so incredibly inspirational. There's two Amy's. I don't know how old your daughter is, but there's one Amy, a couple of girls that have gone back to university that recovered from MS. One Amy, she went in to be a doctor, and then there's another Amy that her success is a little longer. She's a little older, not old, but a little older than that. And she's just so inspirational. Like they all are. Like they're amazing. And they're giving back to you. They're giving back to give you hope. So instead of spending, like years and years of frustration and money and searching and trying all these things, follow a proven plan. If you're going to work with a practitioner, ask them what their success rate is. Don't just say, ask them what they think is causing your disease. And if they're not talking like me, they don't know what they're talking about, as far as they're not going to be able to help you to recover. So with what I've shared with you, you have enough knowledge to either find a practitioner that will help you, and if you can't find one, then reach out to us, because we will help you through the entire process, and it will be a much more enjoyable experience, and you will recover much more quickly and get on with your life and do all the things that you love to do. So again, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, you can go to our website, livediseasefree.com. You can learn about all of the blog posts, like all of the articles I've written. If you want the concise version of it, then in the chat box in Live Disease Free, type parasite, and we will email you or we'll text you or email you. Text is fine too. We will send you that link so that you have that. You can download it, you can share it. And then if you want a full version of my masterclass training, which is normally longer than this, and I go into all the studies and I go into the case reports, you'll see pictures of those students. You can watch my masterclass training. This was like a condensed version of it. And then you can book a time to chat with me. So Lorraine, I think that was you and your daughter can chat with me. Like, as long as she feels that this is the direction she wants to go, but she's a little concerned and has questions, that's what that call is, and it's a chat with me. Last question. So Pam, the diet is making big improvements in my quality of life. Thank you so much. And that's Sheila. That is amazing. So I don't even know who Sheila is, and that is why I do this work, is that we're impacting. I had one lady in Australia, and her naturopath had the cheat sheet for the Live Disease Free diet, and she's handing it out to her patients. How amazing is that, right? So again, our diet is on our website, livediseasefree.com. It's for free. It's under research. You'll find the Live Disease Free diet guidelines, and you'll start feeling better. But please treat the parasites so you can live a normal, healthy, and happy life. And I will be back next week. And if you like what I'm sharing with you, please like, share, and subscribe to help us to get this message out. And make sure, if you have questions, type them in the question box, because our team will answer your questions. So until next week, we will talk to you soon. Take care and bye-bye for now.